as a marketer, you need to know how people act.
Yeah.
That's it, right? You gotta see how people act, and your job is to see if you can tailor that behaviors and psychology into the behaviors of buying. That's basically what your job is.
Thank you for joining us on the Evolve Your Brand podcast. I am your host, Olian Merkis, and just want to thank the incredible crew at Icon Industries. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. We wouldn't be bringing you all this phenomenal guests that are sharing all their knowledge and insight. And today, I'm really, really excited about this, having such passion for branding and marketing and being your authentic self. We have the one and only Brandon Fortino.
Yep.
It took me a little bit, but Fortino. I've literally butchered Brandon's name and Brand On. Who better to go into branding than Brand On? From Short Form Pros.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Brandon?
Yes.
Let's jump in.
Let's do it.
All right. Where does your story begin? Like, how'd you grow up? How'd you end up in San Diego? Give me that.
Oh, man. So I grew up, born and raised in Jakarta in Indonesia. So that was if you don't know where it is, a lot of people don't know where Indonesia is. It's next to Bali, and it's in Bali. Bali is a part of Indonesia. It's a bunch of islands next to Singapore and Australia. So Jakarta is the capital city. I grew up there with my grandparents. At the time, my mom already moved to the States. My mom and my dad had split up when I was young. So I lived with my grandparents, and they're the one that taught me kind of like all the at least like most of the values that I have today. You know, my grandma was a sales director for Nestle. My grandpa was electrical engineering. They invest in real estate when they retire. That's what helped me move to the United States when I was 12. So
you have impressive grandparents.
They're awesome. I love it. They're still here. So, I mean, in Indonesia. So I tried to talk to them. And
I was going to say they're here. You moved them?
No, not yet. I would love to, but they didn't come here. But yeah, that's kind of when I first like got exposed to like entrepreneurship or whatever that looks like. At least I've heard the word. I never actually done it. You know, and I was like, as a kid, I want to play video games, whatever. But one of the things that I loved to do when I was a kid was watching movies. Okay. Here's a fun story. Like, not a lot of people know this. I still do love watching Pixar movies, you know, like those
I love
stories.
Pixar. Come on.
Nemo, come on. Like, you know,
yeah, I'm in.
Right.
I'm in. Like, there's a huge freaking age gap. Like, I could double your age easily and you still weren't alive.
Yeah.
So I get it. My kids grew up on Little Nemo.
Oh, exactly. So here's the thing, though. When I was watching it in there, English is not our first language. So I spoke Indonesian. I don't understand English at the time when I was growing up, but I still watched these Pixar movies. The thing is, I can't read the captions because it was too fast. I was like 4 or 5, 3, whatever. And I still understand the story. I understand that Nemo is about like a parents looking for their son that's going across like the ocean Atlantic, right? I understand that Toy Story is about taking care of your friends. I understand it. As a time as a kid, right? I love watching these movies, but I don't understand the language. So fast forward, I moved to the States, to Bakersfield, moved down to San Diego for college. Fascinated with the movie industry, Hollywood and all that stuff, and wanted to work corporate for Pixar, for Disney. If you asked me in college, I would like my goal was to work for Disney. Probably still can. But what I hadn't realized is what built me to the point where I am now is I was fascinated by the way you can tell stories visually despite the language barrier. Like you can craft a story so well that somebody that don't even speak at your level or speak your language at all still understands it. So that's what fascinated me for like videography and the art itself. And it got started when I moved to the States in high school, picked up a camera, did like high school news, but it's not just regular high school news. In the beginning of the high school news, we used to have like skits, like, you know, SNL skits, you know what I mean? So we used to make those at the beginning of our student news. And I was like in charge of producing the videos and the editing and all that stuff. So that was when I first started kind of, again, telling the story, say like, oh, we have prom this weekend. We need to advertise prom tickets. So I would creatively think about like, let's make a skit about prom. Let's make a music video about this that tells the story about this. So that's how I self-taught myself how to use the camera, how to edit, how to like coordinate, direct people, write even like mini scripts at the time. and just love the art pieces of it, keep developing that over college and all that. I didn't study it. I studied business, but right after, during college, started the company and started doing that for real estate agents here in San Diego. And that's kind of how I end up here and doing all these kind of
What
stuff.
year was that?
What's that? Which
When
part?
you started the company?
That was 2019.
Okay.
So yeah.
So right
2019.
before COVID.
Right before COVID. Actually, 2020. I would say 2020, end of 2020, 2021.
Okay.
Yeah. Not 2019. It's definitely during COVID because I remember like everyone's like super scared about that. So
Right.
Yeah. So 2020, 2021.
What was the first Pixar film that you saw?
Dang, that's good. Probably like Monster Inc.
Okay. What stood
think
out?
so.
Like what stood out about that movie, if you can recall anything? Because that's a really, I mean, think about it. You were watching this as a 4 or 5-year-old,
Right.
3 to 5.
It's a different outlook than if you watch
Holy
it now.
shit, man.
Right?
Like your passion started at that early.
Well, it's one of those things that you enjoy watching it, right? Like, and you enjoy watching it, you like it. And later on, I realized this is a powerful, at least like, I didn't use the word, I couldn't put it into words at the time, right? This is like a powerful thing of just like being able to tell stories. And then, you learn about like all the different stuff in college and high school. It's like, okay, like telling stories is one of the most important skills out there. Like if you think about like the most like popular book in the world, it's all about stories. It's the Bible, right?
Ooh.
It's about the stories, right?
Yeah.
You think about all the Greeks and the Egyptians, they're all telling stories, right? Visually, whatever, through their poems or whatnot. It's a skill set that people have been developing from ages. So it's like humans are very interactive kind of being. They're very communal. They're very social.
Yeah.
So it's a such an important skill. So I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But now we're just doing it through these digitally using images, moving pictures.
You can create your own Pixar.
That would be kind of awesome. Yeah.
So do you think, since you got your start in real estate industry, do you think people in real estate do a great job of storytelling their stories?
I mean, depends who you're
talking about. I'm talking about out of every 10.
Out of everything, yeah, probably
people.
not. Yeah.
No?
No, probably not. I think...
How come that is, from your experience? How come you think it's such a difficult thing for people to share their authentic story?
I think it's because they don't take the time to think about it. I think some people just do, which is good in the beginning to get started to do, but people don't necessarily like take the time to refine the skill set, to think about what they can do better or ask these questions because they're too busy, right? Like everyone gets busy, right?
Yeah.
But like if you just take the time to actually look back into like, who am I actually speaking to? Am I speaking to other realtors right now? Like if you just take the time before posting that just sold sign or whatever picture, right? If you just take the time to first like, why am I doing this? If you just ask yourself that before you post,
okay,
then you probably have a better direction. You have more questions, right?
Okay,
so
let's talk about just sold.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do this. So this episode, I really want to be candid because I'm in the real estate industry.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is my goal at the end of the day is for that family. So anything I post is going to be about the family I just helped. It's not about me. It's not about their house. That home represents their story,
right?
Their memories. So it's not about what I accomplished. It's about what they accomplished.
Right.
So, and I really want to help people, tell people their like stories, because it is an accomplishment to buy a house in San Diego in California. It's a huge accomplishment. It's a huge life-changing moment.
Yeah.
And I've struggled with helping my partners on their brand because they don't story tell.
Yeah. And why do you think that?
I think it's we fall into the traps of what everyone else is doing and not take the time to understand how come we're doing what we're doing.
Correct. Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it's just like as simple as just even asking the people that you work with, hey, what do you want to know about buying a house or about anything, about living in California? Before this, I was in a call. I was doing like a workshop with this one person. She's a realtor in Santa Monica. We did like a 4-hour strategy day basically. And then
4 hours?
We split it into 2 and 2.
Nice.
So she wanted to learn everything about like, how do you build a team? How do you create content? So we split that into 2 hours. But, she's in Santa Monica, right? And she wants to start creating content. She was like, what content should I create? Well, what do people want to know about Santa Monica that that not a lot of people do? As experts, you tend to have these filters of like oh, I think everybody should know this. Even like in my investor friend, even in all industries, in everything, in marketing, even sometimes, like I get it. Like if I use the word CPC, like some people like you would not understand. It's like cost per click, right? So I think just being aware of like, what do people actually want to know, that comes easy to me, and just kind of talk about that stuff. So that's a good starting point, at least in my opinion. So
Yeah, I mean, you know what I appreciate about what you're doing is you're taking the time at the beginning to get people to become self-aware.
mm, I think that's the most important thing, right? Because it's not just,
I don't know, I'm not in your space, and most marketers I've met, I don't respect.
I mean, it's like any other industry. Sometimes you get like bad reps and stuff, but I think being aware in general, from my philosophy, I think here's the thing too, like working with someone, right? When I work with a realtor or lender or marketing agency, a branding agency, whatever that looks like, you're also kind of like agreeing to their philosophies, right?
Okay.
So there are other people that are doing social media, that are doing branding, that are like doing, I call it like, there's a school of Brandon, there's a school of, like another person, there's another person, right? So it's kind of like, you're all trying to get to the same place, which is whatever that looks like. So which philosophy fits your personality best? And then you follow with that person. Because you'll find the people that are like, okay, like for me, like I don't worry a lot about SEO in your videos. Like I was talking to Lena today. She was like, oh yeah, I follow this person, and they were telling me about it. I was like, no, like we, like in my philosophy, in my teachings, like if we create good content, we'll be able to get good results. So let's focus on that. Let's focus on creating content. I put the focus in there. So this is very interesting. I think a lot of people have different philosophies on how you do things. Some people are more aggressive. As you know, some people are not very ethical. Whatever that looks like is different, right? Like want to achieve this thing of what our desired state is. So picking who you listen to, who you work with, that's what I think is very important.
Yeah, I was watching this video. I'm going to send it to you. It'll blow your mind. And it was talking about, I believe in educating myself. Like having spent so much time in the studio, I'm like, holy shit, I didn't really realize how much goes into what you guys do.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's a lot of like small nitty gritty stuff. You know what I mean? Like today, for example, like, I guess I call my client, like she was buying a bunch of gear for Black Friday, because I told her, like, she was like, oh, I want to make my desktop looks better. Before, like 2 weeks ago when I first got on her call, like her back was like super blown out because she has her windows open, her angle is like weird and stuff, and just by making like slight adjustments, and she was like, oh, I just bought this gear. I was going to show you, like I could do it myself, but it took me like an hour and a half, and I didn't figure out how to connect the microphone into my computer. And literally like the first 5 minutes, and we're like, oh, just plug this here, we're good.
Yeah.
And she was like, dang, like I could not have figured that out on my own. I think that's the value too. Like, it's in doing that, and the depth into what it is that makes you an expert, and what makes you who you are and what you do, right? Because if I were talking about lending, like if I go to you, I don't have to spend the 20 years, 15 years of you being in the industry that you learn all this nitty gritty. Hey, don't watch that. Don't do this. I've seen that before. Like let's backtrack a little bit or do this instead. Like that's the value of what makes it really, really good, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then being authentic with what your why is. I'm a huge Simon Sinek fan, and
love that.
Right?
Have your why.
Yeah, you have a why.
Yeah.
And that's what I gravitated towards before we even, like, we connected on social media. I didn't know you, but I knew the people that you were hanging out around with. And I think that's why brand is so important. Like, who you surround yourself with does matter, because other people are watching.
Right.
And then getting to know the authentic you, getting to know the real you, I'm like, fuck, I'll advocate for this guy in a heartbeat, because you're doing it for the right reasons. And I will share with you, being in real estate, we're one of the highly sought after industries for marketers and lead sellers. Here's my tip. Like, what's your tip for people that, there's a lot of content out there saying, get rich quick scheme, become a marketer.
I think, what do you mean? Like, you're asking that as a question?
Oh, no. It's not a question. This is a follow-up on it.
Yeah,
do you agree with that? Like, you're an expert in your industry. Is this an industry where I could just watch an Instagram video or YouTube and just call myself a marketer and just get to work? Like, that's what YouTube and social media, like Instagram, I'm like, yeah, you're not going to make 10 grand a month because you don't have the experience. Like, to me, experience goes a long way. Just because you can do a post, do a reel, doesn't make you an expert in this space.
Right. I think like the word expert is like thrown around a lot.
Seriously.
Even
Yeah.
I sometimes don't. I feel like that's such a like title. Like I don't know if I even consider myself an expert, but I'm just like I think if you always skill stack your skill sets, and what I mean by that, if you build upon your skill set and you produce good results, that's I think it's what is ultimately makes you valuable, right? Because and on top of that is producing good results consistently and producing good results with different even tastes on different niches or whatever that looks like, right? So yeah, a realtor is the first person, like, I've worked with a lot of realtors. I've also worked with hospitality brands. We work with like some big hotel chains that I can't name because of NDAs and what else.
Yeah, nice.
But like, it's like being able to replicate that process of what that looks like. Because even in marketing, like as you know, it's easy to get into, but it's hard to produce results at least like produce results within your clients.
Yeah.
That's why I think I think the mistake of a lot of marketers is like they don't pick specifically who they're working with because they just say, I can bring you results of any. But whereas like if you specifically like niche down, I'm like, okay, like if you're a realtor, I'm working with realtors, like, hey, realistically, what are we going to do here? You're trying to do like, if you're trying to grow your presence among this community, let's do cold mailers out or something like that. Like, what is the best approach to whatever it is you're trying to do? Because as a marketer's job, at the end of the day, you're bringing people, you're kind of like the connector between the people and in the business. You're teaching them the ways, maybe you help them execute it. So if you can execute that well, you'll be a good marketer. So, and the way you learn that, there's a lot of different ways you can learn that.
What sets you aside from other, like you can only speak to what you know, but what sets you aside? What differentiates you in this space?
Do they smile as much as me,
No, nobody has your smile or jacket or customization. Like what do your clients say about you that's different from their experiences before?
I think a lot of the times is, especially when it comes to making videos, it's a lot of mindset block.
Okay.
And people don't assess that. People just think that when you want to create a video, like, I mean, oh, you're great. You're great at being in front of the camera. But for a lot of people, and for me, myself back then too, like when I used to be behind the camera, being in front of the camera is kind of intimidating.
Oh shit. Really? Even for you?
It is. In the beginning, I was, again, most of my career until now, I've been behind the camera.
Okay.
I've been behind the camera recording a podcast like this.
Yeah.
It took me a while to adjust my mindset to get there. And I feel like it's one of the most outlook thing to creating content. A lot of people, when they create content, they're just like, talk like this, here's your hook, talk like this, and we'll edit it. Yes, it's true. You can talk like that, but like if you are fighting a battle inside of your head, you can't even focus on what you want to talk about. You got to first alleviate that like mindset of like, okay, being in front of camera is not that bad, or whatever it looks like for some people. Like I've done some with my clients that like he's out there in like Missouri. It's like, oh my God, Brandon, like, I don't know, man, this is kind of like tough. Like, I don't know if I can speak in front of camera. I just like, yo, just calm down, take a breather. Dog, you literally own like this many pharmacies. You're making this many months. You're scared talking in front of the camera. So you gotta like literally like lift them off their stuff, their shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, what is the actual problem here? Let's break that down. Once we alleviate that, then we can focus on the skill set. So I think that's what a lot of people don't do, that I think I like to pay attention to, especially because if you're in the right mindset, if your heart and your mind is aligned, you can do whatever. So same thing with making content. If your mind is like, oh, I wanted to do this, but then your heart's like, like people would judge me, or like, people are going to comment, people are going to talk, whatever. You got to alleviate that. You got to make it align first. So the way you do that is having real conversations about what's actually blocking you from recording and having that conversation. It's kind of like a therapist almost in a way.
You are
a
therapist.
You know what I mean? Getting people to be more comfortable in front of the camera. Once they do that, then we build the skill set, which I think another thing that people don't do. People just think that, okay, come create the content, just speak in front of the camera and done. You're good to go. Content will work in itself. But there's energy to it. The way we're interacting.
What did you just say?
There's energy to it.
Yes.
It's an exchange of energy, right? So I can feel when I'm talking to the camera and you're like, just like, okay, so I'm answering Ollie right now. I think, this is it's different, right? Than the way I'm talking right now. So how do you develop a skill set that gets you to deliver the energy well? That's something that you got to also pay attention to.
Because you care. That's what makes the difference. You just said it.
Yeah.
You're people first.
Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, it's like my win is their win. Ooh. Their win is my win. So if they're not winning, I feel bad. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I want them to be successful, right? Because like I think as a business owner, you would know you want success in your clients, right? That's like should be your goal, right?
That's my only goal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my only goal.
Same goes with like in my industry, you know what I mean? Kind of like in the marketing, like you should put their wins first. You're kind of putting your name into your reputation. So kind of like, you know, it makes me like sometimes like anxious of like, okay, let's go make sure this happens. Let's go build what does it work? So for me, like I always have to learn about how to teach people that has different personalities, different backgrounds and all that stuff. That's the interesting part. That's what makes
I
it
love
fun.
it. You're, you know, starting in your experience right now that you're learning from them too.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, because I was on one of your trainings and I was listening.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time listening because I don't believe in what people say. I believe in watching their actions of what they say.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you watch.
That's it. Appreciate that. Yeah, you were like,
yeah. I mean, that's how you know, I think some of my richest relationships have come from social media. I met Kevin Feely. Do you know Kevin Feely?
That name sounds familiar.
He's got a podcast. Kevin's a great guy.
Got it.
And we've known each other for 5 years. And I met him at your event last week. And you know what he said? He's like, bro, like we've never met in person. We've known each other for 5 years.
Through socials. It's crazy. I've had those experiences so many times. Fun fact, when I went to Cancun, I was in Tijuana airport because I flew from TBX, right? And then right after the security, this was like 6 a.m. We had the early flight, 7 o'clock. And then at the end, they were like, somebody like reached out to me and like, are you the guy that talked about like, you know, like credit cards and social media and stuff? Like random person. And I was just like, yeah, I do that on my social. He's like, oh, I like your content. And I was like, I don't have a big following whatsoever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you do.
That's crazy.
Like, you do. I think you're being modest and I appreciate that. I think that's why people connect with you is because you don't come across like all you want is money. It's not transactional for you.
To me, it's like, you know, again, it's like exchange of energy, right? Like, it's like, I've done work with people in the past and they're like, man, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Kind of like, but I think if you bring good value, you'll get value in return. It's like good karma, right? Like, and that's what
it's going to go a long way, Brandon.
See, and that's what, like, thinking back at it, I've had some time to reflect on my 2023, right? On my philosophies and my values and stuff. And that's one of the first things that my grandparents taught me. So you always want to do good with other people. That's it. That was her philosophy when she did business, because she was a sales director for Nestle, right? So, she was like, because when you take care of people, they take care of you. That's what it didn't register to me then, right? Obviously, I was a kid, right? But like now, I'm like, oh, this is like that makes sense. It just clears. So
I think it did.
Gotta give him a shout out.
You. I think it did register. You remember at 23, bro?
I do now.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Freaking grandparents, gotta love them.
Gotta love them. You're so.
Do you
wise,
go back there and see?
I try to.
How often do you go back?
Usually every 2 years.
Okay.
I went back last year. So
how far is the flight?
23 hours.
Oh shit.
Yeah. You have to fly to like China or Japan first for like 12, 13 hours. And you add another 7 or 8 to Jakarta and add whatever like the layover is between those cities.
Sweet.
Yeah.
No wonder you do it every 2 years.
Yeah. I'm trying to do it every year though. I think that's my goal. I'm gonna be able to see them, and all my family's in there too. So except for my mom and my stepdad, they're here in Bakersfield. But I think it's cool. Like,
has your girlfriend gone with you?
Yeah, but maybe next year. We're gonna do next year.
All right.
Yeah,
we're throwing that out.
Throwing that out.
Let's go. Let's go. Just putting pressure on him.
I know, right?
One brand at a time. One Brandon at a time.
That's funny.
I love that. By the way, that was Shane Mitchell that gets credit for that. He's like, brand on. See, I'm wearing On shoes, by the way, so it works.
On shoes. Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, I just want you to see the brand. We were talking about the wonderful avocado. He's on brand. The red, I respect.
Yeah.
Much respect. Everything is coordinated.
Going back into that again, though. Yeah. You know what's the most common thing that people ask me now? Because
what's that?
They're like, so like, do you actually like the color red? Like, that was what they're asking. And I'm just like, I do. Like, this is one of my favorite fits. You know what I mean?
If it wasn't, why in the world would you be wearing it?
Which is interesting, because if you think about it, where did they get that belief, right?
I know.
So like, somebody across that person's experience have shown something to be inauthentic. So now they start to have a belief that like a lot of people that they see on the internet is inauthentic. So just some thoughts into that. Like when you start thinking like 3 levels down, right? Kind of like think about like, yeah, they thought like, obviously like, I like this color, like that's why I wear it. But like, why do they have that belief in the first place? Something must have happened to make them doubt that what they see online has to be authentic than what they see in person.
Ooh, you're going down the rabbit hole.
I love like learning about that stuff. Kind of like what makes people think and what makes people like, as a marketer, you need to know how people act.
Yeah.
That's it, right? You got to see how people act. And your job is to see if you can tailor that behaviors and psychology into the behaviors of buying. That's basically what your job as a marketer. So I was thinking about that too. Very interesting.
It is. It's crazy. You know what? As I've gone into like digging in and going down this rabbit hole with branding and marketing, my mind is like, it just gets blown all the time. And I really think like, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, that word is thrown around so much. You just came back from a retreat.
Yeah.
Like there isn't that much glory. Like it's really, really brutal. I mean, until you achieve consistency and you build out a team, it's a rough sport.
In what sense?
In every regard. Like being an entrepreneur, I know it's glorified. There isn't that much glory that I experience every day.
Yeah.
Like I experience a lot of freaking hard work and stuff. Like, how's your experience as an entrepreneur? Do you think it's glory? Like, do you walk around and do whatever you want whenever you want?
I think there's like pros and cons to everything. I think definitely on socials and on the internet, you see all the pros. You don't see the cons, right? Whereas, as I go through this journey, again, I feel that like, oh, there are some cons with this, like when you have a team of like 6 people that you're paying on payroll, you're like, well, like if 2 of your clients drop, you're like, well, crap. Like either you make new clients, you have some cash reserves, or you have to let go of your team, right? So like, that's the kind of anxiety that I just face as an entrepreneur, because I'm like, I'm people first. I'm like the Gary Vee kind of like super mentality of like, I like having my people, my group, my team. Invest a lot in them. So like, like it's definitely like, I think it's slightly glorified. It just like, it's got to talk about it realistically. Like, people always talk about, oh, the corporate job is bad and all that. It's not necessarily bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you just have some pros and cons. You can't just take off like for 2 weeks to go to Cancun, like in a random Tuesday, but you can as an entrepreneur. But what's the opposite flip to that? Like, oh, you don't get, you have to maintain your relationship. You have to be able to sell. You have to constantly learning. And then what's the other flip to being a WT job? Oh yeah, like you get a paycheck. That's it. Maybe not as much, but hey, you get a paycheck. You know what I mean? So I think people think it's a black and white thing, but it's never been a black and white thing.
I think it is a pros and cons thing. And I like the way you broke it down, because now what I think about is what turns me off of that is they don't talk about the cons.
Yeah.
And I think you got to have what are your thoughts about talking to positives and the negatives about your particular industry or your...
I think you should always talk about that. I think that's like what makes a good data, right? Like if I'm a business, let me just tell you right now, I'm giving an example. Say I sell, I don't know, beer, because San Diego's a big brewery town, right? So I sell beer and I have to make a decision. Okay, do I want to create organic content or do I create paid media, right? Depending on what kind of budget I have, organic content takes longer and it takes a lot more skill set to do that. So if I'm a business owner that has never been on camera and like, hey, Brandon, should I do organic content? Probably not. If you're cash limited, you need to make sales. You need to make your business better. So go run some paid ads, make sure you get, some sales from that. If you get some sales from that, then invest in organic content.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So it's always an option. There's a pros and cons to everything.
Yeah.
Even the way you market, what house you buy, which location, there's always a pros and cons to career choices. And I think what's important is like what's important to you in that moment. And if that's important to you, then go with that.
Yeah, you know what I like about your approach is I got to know more about short form pros was that you have a lot of do-it-yourself strategies initially.
What do you mean by that?
Well, that you're teaching them the video work, the lighting, and all that stuff, and I think there's a huge advantage. I didn't see it at first. Now reflecting back, I think that helps you build the fundamentals.
Yes,
it really does.
I mean, I had to again. Most of my career, I've been behind the cameras. Yeah, I had to set up the lights, set up the cameras, set up the audios. So I know how much YouTube that was to like learn all that stuff. So I'm working with my clients. I'm like, okay, this is all you need to buy this kind of camera, buy this kind of thing. You don't need that. Don't need to spend $5,000. Don't do that. Spend this $800. Plug this there. You good. You know what I mean? Kind of like that, shortening that learning curve for a lot of my
Well, here's the benefit I've learned.
Yeah.
Okay. The benefit about how you're doing it is it builds you up to get ready for a studio. And I think a studio has a place, because you told me something interesting about when you came into the studio. You're like, there is a place for this in your content once you receive a certain, once you achieve a certain level of result.
Yep.
This isn't for everyone.
Right.
Because it is expensive and it's designed to be that way because it's a different value add.
Right. And it's like, some people like come up to you. You probably get this a lot too. Like they barely make like a video every week and they're like, oh, I'm going to get like a podcast studio. It's kind of like, exactly. You're like, well, I don't know if that's the best use of your money, And I mean, kind of like if you're committed to something, then you get into it. Like at least that you're committed to something, you want to take it to the next level, you're serious, then get that to the next level.
When do you have clients right now that are ready to start their own podcasts?
I think there's a couple. I can think of a couple. Yeah, exactly.
What do you think you have to accomplish, I would say, for real estate? Like, let's say when would be a good time to start a podcast? Because I actually think I'm a huge advocate for podcasts as getting your starting point. In some cases, like if I have established business already, but I want to grow my influence on video and I haven't done it, I think podcast, if I have the right personality, it's a great place to start because the content you get, content multiplier is obscene with a podcast.
It is, for sure.
It's crazy.
I think you can start right away. Like literally that's like one of the, because it's not much work to do. Like I think, again, at the very least, you have your camera webcam with some light that's like $200 and then the microphone that's nice. Probably your total investment like $600. If you want something like this, obviously it's going to cost more, but podcast is one of the easiest things to start.
Nice.
Now, I'm going to give you the caveat.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you don't have to not learn anything to start a podcast. You need to learn how to ask good questions like Ollie does. You know what I mean? You need to learn how to conduct a conversation, how to carry up a point. You know what I mean? So it is the easiest one to start. I think they can start that as a business owner whenever, and especially in real estate. So yeah.
I love that you said that because we're thinking about doing a podcast, a host training here.
That's a good one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the professional, right? They like think about podcasts came from like radio stations, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like where it came from. So think about them. They have like a run of show, like what's going on. Like, all right, our show is 40 minutes. What is the first 10 minutes going to look like? Next 10 minutes. When is the ad spots going to be? When is the last 10 minutes? So like those little stuff, again, like they don't have to worry about that in the beginning, but that's once they grow in their levels, that's when they can.
I actually want to put this together, and I'm glad that you're a fan of this because I think having a series of podcasts for the right, like, let's talk about Chris.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Chris Luna, I think, is a perfect example. He's achieved success in his space, right? And you've been working how long with Chris as far as his brand?
Like almost a year now.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. So did he he has his own podcast and you've been supporting, how long has he been doing his podcast?
We started our first one in January.
Oh, okay.
It was great.
How many episodes are you in?
One. That first one.
Oh, one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That first one. Yeah.
He hasn't done any other ones since?
Well, no. He's done many after.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
The one that I'm in, only one.
Oh, got it.
That
How
makes
many
sense.
episodes has he done so far total?
I don't know, 15, 20.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
So
I
at
up
15, he's
Yeah.
at a different space. Like that's the person that I want to take on the podcast tour.
Yeah.
Because it's like by the time you're done going on 4 or 5 podcasts, you have like almost 2 to 3 months worth of content.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. Yeah. Exactly.
And there's a lot of great podcasts in San Diego, which blows the mind.
Yeah.
There's so many. I also think that, if you're going to do a podcast, have something that's a little different.
Right.
Take the time to become self-aware of what you want to. Because I don't think just doing a podcast, that's where I went wrong.
Or even the message of what your podcast is about.
Thank you.
Right. You know what I mean? Kind of like there is a lot of noise when it comes to content. A lot of people do everything, right? So how do you differentiate yourself? And I don't know if you know this or Shane does, but Spotify released their 2023 data on podcasts.
Okay.
So it was very interesting to look at. I believe, if I'm calling this correctly, the largest percentage of podcasts being watched was comedy podcasts.
Okay.
But the second biggest category is business. Second biggest category of podcasts that people watch or listen to, I guess, are business podcasts. So that was an interesting stat. It was like, and then there's like a bunch of other genres, right? Another stat was...
What's interesting, before we move on, what's interesting about that stat to you?
People want to learn about business or anything like that. I think as technology become more available, and this is probably why, you know, those Alex Hormozi, the Ryan Pineda, Ryan Serhant, the Pace Morbies, the Cody Sanchez are very popular, is because...
Did you just bring up Cody Sanchez?
Yeah, Cody Sanchez.
Holy shit, bro. Guess what? Cody Sanchez watched my story yesterday.
No way.
I'm like, damn, Cody Sanchez, a huge... She is, wow.
I want to learn about how to buy businesses. I think it's so cool. Yeah. Cody Sanchez dope.
Did you watch her Tom Bill You one?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I'm going to send you that. Cody Sanchez, I want you on this podcast. I'm just letting you know that.
Putting it out into the world there.
Oh, it's going to happen, bro. We're going to tag her on this. Cody, you're coming on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm not at Tom Bill You yet. I didn't start Quest, but we're going to get her in that seat. You're coming. We're going to get her.
Let's do it.
She's fierce.
She's awesome.
I'm scared of her.
But like, think about it. I know. I saw her speak in WealthCon in January of this year.
No way you did not.
She did. She was the keynote. Yeah, she was. It's really cool.
That's so great.
Yeah, but it's like, what I think was interesting is like, because business was so popular, that means like there's a lot of demand of people wanting to learn about business.
Yeah.
People that currently make content about business make it boring. So those that don't make it boring wins.
What do you mean by boring? Give it to me. Like, you're in this space, and bro, I love what you're doing in the desert and stuff. We'll talk about that later. No. I'm serious. Like, I want to know all about it, because that every time I think about you, I see you in the desert. I'm like, fuck, I got to go to the desert.
That's so hilarious. In my opinion, it's like, it's interesting hearing what stood out to people. The desert one comes out a lot.
Oh, I bet. Like,
right?
I'm like,
it's different, right? You don't see that very often. Right?
I like it.
Exactly.
Jacket. Like, you got the data copying you.
I like it.
Why is he stealing your brand, bro?
I don't know, man. Ryan, what's going on?
He's replicating you. He's replicating you.
Nah, he's a G. I like Ryan. You said how to not make it boring.
Yeah.
What do you mean by make it boring? Think about, like, you know, if you go way back, did you go to like degree, college, right? Have you ever gone to college before? Like,
I went to state.
Went to state. Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
Come on. You're an Aztec.
Let's do it. Aztec, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you remember those like professors that just like lectures to you and just like you sleep throughout the class?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to be
They were going through the motions.
Right. You don't want to be like that person when you're creating content.
Ooh, that's a great analogy.
It is.
You don't want to be that boring college professor.
I think education can be made fun. Think about how they teach math in like 5th grade with all the apples and all the like, people carrying watermelons and stuff. Think about that. And now you apply that to business knowledge, a business type of knowledge, right? So that's this hard part, the skill set of like, how do you make this thing interesting? And that's what I think those people that are successful, like the Hormozi, the Pace Morby, they take the time to create content that are interesting.
Yeah.
So even in my space, in the short form video side, right? Like when I'm creating content, like it's like, okay, my goal is to teach people how to create good hooks. How do I make this interesting? Okay, let's make it an analogy. Okay, so one idea, 5 hooks. Let's go. So like, let's use, for the example, we're going to use the word coffee. So hook number 1 is X versus Y. Coffee versus, or like Dunkin' versus Starbucks. Which one would you choose? Hook number 2. Like, I'm still teaching them how to create good hooks, but I make it fun. See what I'm saying? So
I like it. You're bringing the entertainment factor.
Correct. That's what I mean. So you got to bring the entertainment factor. So in a podcast,
I've been studying.
Videos, exactly. Because like think about, let's see, people. I've heard complaints when people are like, "Oh my god, my topic is just boring. Real estate is boring." Well, if real estate is that boring, HGTV wouldn't be a thing.
Hey, bro, real estate is one of the sexiest topics there is. I've never heard real estate is fucking boring.
I don't know. Some people are like, I just don't know how to make real estate interesting, or like, I don't know how to make business interesting.
See, and that just tells me you don't know how to tell a story.
Exactly.
Right?
That's it. Even just like studying, like if you go onto HGTV, watch the show. Not watch the show to enjoy it. Watch the show how they do it.
So good.
Yeah, I've had the privilege last year to like shadow like a producer for HGTV, and she was editing the videos of like an episode, or like a mock episode and a pilot episode. It's very interesting. They're like, okay, it has to be cut here. Here's where the music comes in, and there's like, now it's a shot of this person. We're gonna want this person to just speak about this part because they're making a character. All these different tiny little details they make to craft the story. So like, it's not the topic. It's like, as a creator, how do you make things interesting? How do you make things fun? As a business creator, especially. Exactly.
Yeah. You know what? I've seen so many people, like, I laugh because it's a joke, put the content creator. Mm-hmm. Like, they're in real estate space, but they put that they're content creator. I will share with you, I've been watching content, observing, practicing it for 5 years. There's a few content creators that I know that are unique in their space.
Right.
I don't like throwing around titles that aren't earned. Like, that's me. I'm a mortgage advisor. I'm not a content creator. I'm working on being a content creator, but that takes time and expertise. So now I'm going to brands, and going, hey, Brandon, like, walk me through. Do you know one of the things I appreciate about you, what I would recommend is you're taking the time to really connect with your potential client so you can honor and serve them. And it's not just words. Because I've heard those words thrown around. Disrespectful.
Which words?
Honor and serve. Don't throw around those words unless you mean them.
Honor and serve.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Seriously.
What do you mean by that? Like,
well, honor, to me, my goal, like, if I was a marketer, my goal would be to help you accomplish your goals. And if you were unrealistic, I would be transparent with you and say, hey, the game you're trying to play is a long game. It's not a short game.
Right.
If you want a short game, I'm being realistic with you. It's going to be rough and you're going to have to spend a shitload of money.
Yeah.
Do you want to play the short game? Let's go.
Right.
If you don't have the budget for it, let's actually invest in helping you grow. There's no shortcuts.
Right.
There's no shortcuts.
Exactly.
Just like there's no shortcuts in being a successful real estate agent or a mortgage advisor, there's no shortcut in growing your brand and a community presence.
Right. Exactly. You take hard work and take time and volume to it.
Yeah. So how come you're not selling the dream? You're selling the reality.
Yeah. That's how it is.
Ooh, that's hot.
It is hot. Cut that part.
That was good. I think I got it on camera.
Yeah, I mean, it's like literally how it is. And sometimes, to be fair, like I'm transparent. Like, it's hard for me to tell clients that too, like to kind of like shut their dreams out a little bit and just like, yeah, like, you want us to get to here in 3 months, but like, you know what I mean? Like, depends. And there are some people that are like also the opposite end. They're like, oh, you're only aiming for this. I think you can go higher. You know what I mean? So I think that's so interesting. One of the biggest things that I have to learn as like, a business owner, as a marketer, is like setting the expectations right.
Yeah.
And I still have to learn that too. You know what I mean? Kind of like, how do you set that right in terms of like, what can we achieve here? Like, let's make sure it's attainable. I guess that's the thing. So yeah, very interesting.
When people, I have a question for you as a branding marketing coach. When people don't do what they're supposed to do, they say, hey, I'm going to do all these things. How do you...
Oh, man, that breaks my heart, bro. Like, that's crazy.
I think I hit a button, folks.
I did.
Did I hit a button?
That did.
Brandon, brand on? Did I hit a button?
I did. That did, man.
Go.
That did. That's like, that is the one thing that I felt super bad in doing. Like, literally just like, I don't know. I feel like, again, I like to put things on my end, right? Because like, oh, did I not motivate them enough? Did I not keep them accountable enough? What can I do to make them feel better or even like work with their schedule? And, like that's the mindset that I go to. I've had successful clients, but I've also had clients that are like, not doing it or whatever that looks like. It happens, right? That's just what an agency is.
It's
like,
reality.
It's reality, right? You have, some people that are like just successful, and you have some people that are like, like not very into it. But yeah, to me, that's like, man, like, it's like, I want you to win, man. You know what I mean? Just put more time into it or something like that. And
what's the fear that they're trying to overcome from your point of view? And I know this is broad, but I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Like, give me a couple of stories of what prevents people from recording the content and getting out of their own way.
I mean, most of the time they just wouldn't want to invest the time.
Really? Okay, so it's just a matter of it. They don't prioritize.
It's a matter of time, especially with the real estate investors, specifically calling out real estate investors, And I kind of get it too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, content is a long game, right? And then like you have this, like, say, fix and flip deal, and you can make like 150 grand in 2 months, whatever.
Right.
And then like you're focusing all your attention there. And I was like, I mean, like, if I were to tell them like, hey, hire a coordinator or something like that to help you out on that, that could be a thing, right? So that's most common thing that I've encountered. People are like, oh yeah, I don't have enough time. And it's like,
got it.
Got it. How can we make this into a time? Like, do you need to make a podcast? Do you need to, like, what is it, right? So
how do you create time to do your fix and flip then?
What is that?
No, I mean, that would be the question that I would ask.
For sure.
You know, I love Hermosi says this. He's like, oh, you don't have enough time. So when you do have enough time, when is that going to be?
Exactly.
There's never...
And that's the thing too. Like that's the part where like sometimes like I like putting my clients into that kind of like thing too sometimes.
Oh, you'll put them on blast?
Of course, have to. And I think that's as a good person, like, you know, again, like you're paying me to do this to you, right? Exactly. Like this is what I'm trying to keep you accountable. Like, yo, like what's going on? Like, let's do it. And I think like
you're paying me to do this to you. This is awesome.
I mean, think about you hired a fitness coach. Same thing, right?
I was talking about that earlier.
Yeah. It's like, I want you to win. I want you to get your goals, lose 20 pounds. And in this case, like I want you to be known. I want you to make 30 videos. That was our goal that we're trying to do. Like, what's happened here? How can we fix it? How can we adjust and pivot into our strategies to make it work for you? Whatever that looks like. Oh, like say you're doing flips like 24 days out of the month. Cool. Can you like flip in like one video every time you like go to properties or something?
Yeah.
Can you like, or if you've taken 23 days in the month, can you put one day where you just kind of like, we have everything ready to go and just like record real quick? What does that look like for that person? So it's a specific case scenario. And that's what's interesting about the agency game, at least in the marketing industry, right? It's like each client has different needs. So you're like, how do you work with like that kind of like different situations, different client?
What's the biggest learning you've had with agency this year? You started in 2020, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what's been the biggest like learning for you this year with agency?
That's a good question. I think the biggest learning is understanding behaviors of people. Because like, again, going back into like creating content, right? There's a reason why they're not putting it in priority. There's a reason why they are, feeling scared to talk in front of a lens. So understanding how they come up with that and asking the questions to get to that idea. Because like sometimes you feel it because like, and now I'm seeing it clearly. Like when people are like, I don't know, Brandon, like it's like, it just feels like, I was like, shut up. Let's go. Let's just freaking click record right now. You have to pattern interrupt them. So understanding that behaviors, right? But what they're doing, how they're acting, and then being able as a good coach or whatever, like strategic partner, whatever words you want to use as a coach, like you want to be able to coach them, like depending on their behaviors, right? So I think that's the biggest thing is like understanding different people's behaviors and how they create content, what's stopping them, what's making them like want to do it, what's their motivation strategies. So yeah.
Kudos to you. You're finding out, and you're fairly young in your entrepreneur career.
I have a lot to learn.
You're just young in life, bro. Like you are.
I have a lot to learn, man.
Like I added up the total. So I think what I appreciate about what you said is like, you're going to pattern interrupt them. Whether you want to or not, you're paying me to make sure this gets done.
Right. Exactly.
And you're going to make sure they get it done.
Right. And like, again, that's the thing, right? There's some clients that are easier. Like, okay, I'll record. They're good to go.
Yeah.
Or there's some clients that are like, all right, I need to text you like once every 2 days to make sure you're recording. So, and then as a business owner perspective, you're like, how do you automate that? How do you scale that? Right. So that's like it's like, there's two sides of things. There's a client facing side, there's the internal side, obviously. So yeah.
There is. Do you think you'll ever outsource your relationships?
What does that mean?
Okay. So, one of the things I don't appreciate about my industry is that, most, some lenders, you'll have the first conversation with you or they'll pass you on to their team. So you're not really interacting with them, you're interacting with their team. Do you ever see outsourcing your clients to, like, they really don't get to ever interact with you? Or do you oversee yourself having a hands-on approach with some of your clients?
A good question. I think it's like one of those things that, at least for now, for the foreseeable, like 2 to 3 years, I can see myself still behind the strategy side of things when it comes to client. As agencies grow, though, you have like, somebody that like will help that client succeed, like a client success manager, right? So once the strategy is established, now you just need to like make sure it's being done and executed. So I think that's part where I would, I guess, like hire someone internally to do that. But still, like the strategy comes from, at least like for the foreseeable future, still comes from me.
Nice.
And I feel like as a business owner too, like you want to kind of detach, like kind of like you as the owner eventually, right? So it's an interesting question, like being transparent to it, because like, you know, a good business shouldn't rely on just one person, because then like if I die tomorrow, the business is dead.
Yep.
And all my team members like don't have anything. I have to look for a new job, right? So it's a huge risk, right? So how do you create a system that still creates success depending on the client strategies, and having that system, like that's still part of the journey. So yeah.
And it is the difficult part. That's why I asked it. Like, because I'm thinking to myself, like, I love the people aspect of what I do. Right. I love the connections. I love the people. Like, I would be missing something if I didn't get that. You know, and eventually you grow into a space where you have to do what you do best, and allow other people, because it's your strategies, your model, everything is you. It's Brandon taking the time to build those systems out. And as long as everyone represents. So I was just curious, you know?
Yeah, I think like, again, I look at Gary Vee a lot when it comes to like leadership and all that stuff. So like, if you ever read his book 12 and a half, have you read that one?
Well, he has 4 books. I don't recall.
It's like 12 and a half. It's like 12 and a half qualities that a good leader have, which is very interesting. I love that book.
Okay. I'm going to read that one. Really I don't think I read that one.
Very short, like 150 pages or whatnot. It's super short. But, you know, when you work with VaynerX or VaynerMedia, whatever, any of his companies, you don't work with Gary.
Nope.
Like you probably would a little bit, maybe a tiny bit. You can hop on one call like once every 2-3 months or whatever. But you work with all of his team members because he has such a good systems, such an empowered team members, right? But they still live the Gary way. It feels like you're interacting with Gary because Gary is able to transcend his vibe for the younger people, or like his, you know, his,
I got you,
you know, personality into the team, building that, empowering them team to do
his
that.
Bloodstream goes through the whole entire organization.
Correct. That's exactly. So that's
how you going to build that.
Admire that.
Have you talked to Gary Vee about that?
Let's
get him. I said, have you talked to Gary Vee about that?
Oh, no,
we're gonna have to get him on the podcast. Gary, you're.
I know somebody that just went to his. They just like have connections with Gary. So like, I feel like now it's just like a one connection away.
One connection away.
That's it.
You're always 1 or 2 connections away.
Exactly. Isn't that crazy?
The goal is Hermosi. Like that's on the top of the list.
Hermosi's cool. Yeah, he has all the heat.
Hermosi's cool.
He has all the heat right now because like he got all the cool content.
But he's building it up. Like when you see his business model, it's really.
Have you seen his most recent videos?
No.
I was watching one of his videos. Production quality is top notch. Like back when
he's spending a shitload.
He's spending a shitload, not just money but time into his videos.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying the quality of his content,
right?
Yes.
So yeah, if you watch one of his videos recently, like I was amazed. I shared it to like everyone. I'm like, this is what business education made fun looks like.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It feels like
say it again.
This is what business education made fun looks like. Hermosi videos.
Hermosi, that's for you.
Exactly.
We got a spot for you.
But literally, it's like he was talking about basically the main idea is the 4 quadrants, how you get people: cold outreach, warm outreach, paid media, organic. That's it. That's a core model. But he made it like a story. It's like 30 minutes long. It's like a lot of different stuff. It's very interesting. I'll send it to you. But
yeah, do you like his approach to branding and marketing?
I do. I like his stuff. Like $100 million leads, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually going to give away that book to people that are watching, or, for Christmas. I'm going to give away that.
I love it. I think we were, Shane Mitchell was talking about this, getting 500 for our event, Evolve Your Brand in April.
People. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to you about that.
It'd be nice.
That'll be cool.
I think he's definitely a marketing first business owner. So he built his stuff through paid media, and then just barely recently he did organic stuff, and that's why he blew up, pop off, right?
Yeah.
So,
he's got some really interesting takes on content.
He does.
Creation.
It's like, for him, it's like if you break it down into a reasonable, like a systematic way, which is what I like into making content, then you can focus on the specific skill set it makes to do that, which is kind of things that I'm adopting to, because like, what is creative, right? What is speaking good in front of the camera? Well, if you do it like this, if you watch 10 Ryan Pineda videos or 20 Ryan Pineda videos, you'll start mimicking what Ryan Pineda sounds like. So start with that, and you eventually will develop your own skill sets on speaking. Yeah. So
you know what? One of the best tips I would give, like this really helped me on video. I send the first time I meet anyone, I always send them a video introduction.
I noticed that.
Oh, you do notice that? You've gotten one.
I do. Yeah.
How fucking cool is that?
It's cool. I like it.
It's great practice.
It is. It's different. It's unique, and I think like. Even I started doing it for Thanksgiving.
Did you?
I did. Yeah, I sent it to my, film people like, hey, want to make sure you're like.
Okay, do you want me to give it a shout out? Have you been on Business Pros?
What is that?
Okay, Hernan says, love you, Hernan. So he's in San Diego. He's got like 1,200 podcast episodes.
Oh, wow.
Bro, he is a beast.
That's awesome.
He was the first one 5 years ago. I never met him before.
Yeah.
Just started following his podcast. Like he's one of my best friends. We've done workout. We've been in groups. And he sent me a video. I'm like, dude, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen since that day, 5 years ago. Anytime I connect with someone the first time, it sends a completely different message. That's different awesome. Experience. Like, hey, and I love, it's not a tactic.
Yeah.
Like it's authentically like I'm recording the message for you because I'm glad to connect with you. Like that means a lot.
Yeah.
So how do you teach connection besides branding and marketing? Like how do you help?
That's a good question. I think it always starts with like being authentic. That's the first thing. I feel like most people out there are just not authentic. They feel like they're putting their guards up, like
okay.
They're scared of confronting who they are as a person.
How do you get? Talk about a rabbit hole. That was me.
Yeah.
That was me. I was so insecure about I'm like, dude, what am I doing in this? Because you start measuring yourself up. Like if I measure myself against mortgage, like lenders and mortgage advisors, San Diego has some great ones.
Right.
A lot of transactional ones.
Right.
You know who you are. And a lot of great mortgage advisors.
Right.
So I'm like, that's where the fear came from me. I'm like, dude, what am I an expert? I just started in this industry. Now I'm like, no, everyone's new.
Yeah.
Like when Gary Vee was doing the wine.
Right. Everyone just trying to figure it out. And like, I feel like, right. That's
the biggest fear to overcome. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Like most people don't have the balls to record video.
Exactly. It's like I love how like, if you just pull out super large, like beyond your city, beyond your country, beyond Earth, and you just these problems you're just making up in your head. They are. Just freaking do it, man. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? If you just pull out super big, it's just like, what's that big a deal? Just talking to the camera.
It's easier said than done.
It is.
And I would say like, it's the best thing I ever did for my life. Like the challenge that content creation has put in front of me has made me a better person.
I love that. And I think like let me know if you agree with this, but it's a mindset that you train, right? And mindset has to be constantly trained. That's why you go to these masterminds. That's why you meet like amazing people on your podcast. And, it's not a black and white thing. You can lose it over time if you don't hang out with the right people and all that stuff. So listen to the right people, surround yourself with people that are doing that. That way your mindset is solid and coming into it, you protect that energy, right? So.
And watch people's actions. I think, what would your advice be on how someone picks the right branding and marketing coach for themselves?
That's a good one. I think I might have to think about that. I think first of all, first sign is like, are you doing it? What's your experience? Like, have you done it before? What is your criteria, credentials? Because there's a lot of people out there, and there's like people that hit you up on your DMs probably like, hey, I can get you like 100 more leads, or I can get you 10,000 more views, which is cool. Are those views paid? Are those views from like China? And what does that look like? So is being that critical on like, what are they actually helping you on? Ask them specific questions, things like, so what specifically are you going to help me to achieve my goal? What specifically do you do? And kind of just based on their answers on that, right? And then like, asking their credentials again one more time, kind of like what it is. And even just like, you feel it when that person is genuine. Are they like thoroughly convinced over their systems and the process of what that looks like, And I feel like you get to feel like, okay, this is this person genuinely talking about the right things.
I know what you're
I
saying.
mean?
You're saying, are they selling you or investing in you?
I like that. Put it out.
You like that?
I'm gonna use that.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
that's fire.
Okay.
That's
all right.
fire.
We've thrown so many fire. Like, by the way, do you like red? No, I just fucking wear it for no reason. That's like asking me if I like orange. I think I do, baby. Oh, by the way, the sock game, you don't have the. We're gonna have to get you some socks, bro. Where are the red socks?
I have the. I was washing the laundry.
Oh, okay, good. So you do have. Do you have a? Are you a sock game guy? Do you have cool socks?
I do during holiday seasons. Especially.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to have to, I think you're a sock guy. I think you got a whole fashion thing going. I think we start buying you some socks.
It's so nice though, having your brand outfit. Cause like, man, it took like so long. Like, when you're going to like, oh my God, I need to figure out what clothes to get and what to wear at this event.
How many of those jackets do you have?
I have 3.
Got it. I was wondering. I'm like, dude, this has got it. Cause you are on brand.
Cause it's like nice. Cause like, okay, it's
it's
a
great.
black shirt, a puka shell, and then some sort of like comfy like black jeans, or if it's like more formal, it's like a black slacks, or if it's like more chill like this, like black joggers.
I'm in.
It's like
you've taught me that, by the way. I wanted to give you credit for that.
What?
Like the staying on brand, wearing the same, because I hate it.
Somebody has a look,
Bro, I'm
it's
dying.
easier. Right? Like,
did you see how many shirts are in the back of my trunk?
No, I didn't.
Oh my Lord. We're gonna do some I feel like I live in my
and it's like people identify you. Like, like I was looking at this, I don't know if we're running on time, but like I was watching this video. Again, I love like psychology and all that stuff, right? As human brains, we like to group things. This is how, like, ever since we like were cavemen, we got to group things of what's good and what's bad. What's gonna eat me and what's gonna not eat me. What kind of berries should I eat, or what berries should I not eat? So that's just a nature that humans always group things. That's why social media expanded that. Like, that's why there's a lot of like opposition, because they group each other. It's like either you or me, them or not, whatever, right? So when it comes to context of branding, right? When people like to group you together, like let's group, okay, Brandon is a puka shell, the spiky of hair, the red jacket, and the black shirt and black jeans. That's brand. They group. It's easier for you now. You remember that. That's what a brand is, right? It's just like a grouping, a bouquet of brand, a bouquet of Ollie.
You created your own like avocado. You're like a walking avocado.
I know, right? Walking avocado.
Little shout out for you,
Yeah,
Danny and Zach.
Yeah, it just that's how
I love it. Like I've been thinking about it since I saw you talking about it. I'm like, dude, I wonder. Now I just got to find the right outfit.
Outfit, the way you way present yourself and everything. It's just like people just group you. That's how especially if they can see you, they can connect everything. Okay, this is like this all.
I love the energy of your brain.
Of my what?
Of your brain. I love the energy of your brain.
Yeah,
like seriously.
That's awesome.
It's when you say authentic, I think what I appreciate about you is who you see on camera is who you get in person.
Yeah, for sure. I've had, again, like back to that, like some people are surprised sometimes when you're like, oh, you're the same person in person. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, you just a guy that likes to smile all the time. And just like, yeah, this is me. Like warm energy. That's me.
Shocking. Shocking. Be you, baby. You attract the right people. I love this segment before we wrap up. Mm-hmm. Who brings light to your day every day? Who do you want to thank? Who makes Brandon's life better every day?
That's a great question.
Did you, by the way, are you guys listening to how many times he said great question? I'm really, really giving you max effort.
No, that's good. Because it's not like something I just come out like, okay, this is the 7th time. But yeah, I'll say probably my grandparents.
Oh.
Yeah. I think, even still today, they still support me in the way I do that. So I'm very lucky and very grateful for that. So
what's the best attribute you learned from your grandma and one from your grandpa? Best attribute. The thing that I love my grandma for this.
Do good to other people.
Ooh, that's hot.
That's it. Yeah. And then work hard. I think that's the thing. It's my
grandpa.
Work hard.
My
grandpa's always about that.
Is he a beast?
Yeah. He's like, he was like an engineer and whatnot, but like he likes also like building like what is it called? He likes fixing things and building like wooden tables and all that stuff.
He's an engineer, bro.
Yeah, he likes building things. So it's like, and my grandma likes like the smoothest social person. You know what I mean?
Okay, so they complement each other really well.
They do. Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So it's like that quality. It's like, I feel like somewhere along my childhood, it's like, okay, there's one thing you want to remember this. And I was like, okay, do good to other people. That's it.
that, you know what, that's, life's so simple.
Yeah.
We just try to do right by other people.
This makes it more fun too. Like, why do like bad things? Like, come on, man. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
there's a lot of bad shit out there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put more of the good out there.
Yeah, exactly.
So are you.
Try the best what you can do with what resources that you have. Just, live life positively, see the positive outlook and everything. Everything happens for a reason. This is how I try to do it,
All right. And then final thoughts you want to leave the episode with. What are the final thoughts?
Do good for other people.
Do good for other people.
I think that's good.
Every day.
Even when your content on the person that you meet, your clients, your boss, whatever, just you're recording content. Don't think about the people that you want to attract are going to bring you money right away. Just how do you do good to them? This is why you're creating the videos.
Value.
Right? It is value. And value doesn't necessarily has to be educational all the time. It can be entertainment. You bring smile into their face, right? There's a value in entertaining people. There's value in teaching people. There's a value in just connecting with people, hearing people out sometimes too. Some people in the comments, they're like, oh, like they're feeling bad and down, like connect with that person. So I think overarching message of doing good for people can be applied to a lot of different things. So
Brandon, I really enjoyed having you on.
Thank you.
We're going to have you come back. You want to come back?
I would love to.
I think we should have, if you want to see Brandon back, we need you to drop a comment.
Love that.
And let us know what you think.
Drop the comment red.
In red. And make sure you put a red jacket. Next time, I'm going to wear an orange jacket.
Yeah.
So that way, like we are literally owning this brand shit. It's done. It's down. By the way, did you see the head?
I saw that. That was kind of creepy. That's something that I noticed.
One day, if you get a chance to see the studio, we have a creepy head over here. It's perfect for all of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Brandon, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
I appreciate you, man.
Thanks.